Feeling good, Ian? Feeling spry?
Yeah. Pumped.
You pumped?
So pumped.
So pumped. Welcome.
So pumped.
Welcome to the Completely Unnecessary Podcast. The last one of the summer?
The last one.
Was it 2021?
The last one.
September 14th,
Just the end. We're done.
2021 Tuesday. Hi, Ian. How you
Hi.
doing? That's Ian Ferguson. I'm Pat Contra. On the show today, we'll be talking about some fun stuff. I don't know what's happening. Talking about Apple versus Epic. GameCube turns 20. The worst grading experience you will ever find with what? And Boomers had an event. Apropos.
Fall is Wednesday the 22nd, so we get one more of the summer.
We get one more.
Endless summer.
Speaking of that, we had the summer of the video game years came to a sad close. Well, a momentous close. We had the last one, 89, premiered on my channel on Monday. Check it out. I have a playlist. Run them all.
I was there for every episode, pumping the crowd up. You really missed it if you weren't there.
Sure.
Yeah, I was totally there.
But we were there. We were in every segment, but 2 or 3. We were in, for some reason, we skipped Donkey Kong Jr. in 82. To this day, I don't know why. It's one of my favorite arcade games. We skipped the Video Game Magazine one, and there was another one we skipped in like 81 or 82. Other than that, we were in every single segment somehow. We put the work in.
You fucking tired of us? Yeah.
We were. I mean, there wasn't a close second for the segments. Probably Eric. Eric was in a lot. But like we were in every single one.
Eric was so good on that.
Eric was like the soul of the series.
Yeah.
Really was.
Oh no.
His should have been a game segments are fantastic.
He dressed up in costume. I don't even remember what game was in the segment, but where he dressed up and did the Who Knew thing.
That was for the television.
That's right.
Television versus Atari.
Yeah.
So real quick, then we're going to talk about our pal Eric, who I haven't seen in years and years. He forgot his suit for the shoot, which rhymes. He drove like an hour one way to get it. It's literally a 1 second joke.
But that's so good.
That's dedication.
That's dedication.
He dresses up like the little Intellivision kid in those commercials.
Yeah.
That was the joke. Ian, what did you do this weekend?
I care. Treg and my coworkers took me out. Well, Treg took us out. Kind of as like a farewell dinner for me. When's
your last day?
I have this Saturday and next Saturday, and that's it. I'm done.
Wow.
Yeah. So we went to Bali High.
I love Bali High.
I love that place.
Did you go for brunch or is it just a dinner?
We go for dinner. It's like probably the place we go to the most often for work dinners.
God, that brunch, it's expensive, but it's worth it. It's like a $50 brunch.
The food there is great, and we love the drink menu. And then afterwards, we went to False Idol downtown, which is one of those speakeasy bars. It's like a speakeasy tiki bar.
Okay, you're not speaking easy about it now. You're telling everyone.
Yeah.
It's longer.
But really good.
Shut it down. The Untouchables.
Drank a lot.
Very uncommon for you, Ian.
It is these days to this level. But I had a glass of water in between every drink and woke up just fine. So that was pretty much my my weekend. I worked at Luna, had to go on an away party. Yesterday I don't know. I was a cool guy. What did you do this weekend?
You were a cool guy?
That's what I did yesterday.
What did I do this weekend? I think I skipped the heavy bag when my foot was acting up a little bit. I saw Shang-Chi with a friend. First time going to the movies, and I forget what the last movie was I saw. It might have been Endgame over 2 years ago. It would have been like May of 2019.
Really?
Yeah, because there was no movies last year. And what happened? What would I have saw after that? What would I have seen? You
True.
got word tune to help me speak. I don't know. So I saw Shang-Chi. Originally, I didn't want to see it. I skipped Black Widow. I've seen every MCU movie in the theater up to Black Widow. I skipped Black Widow for 2 reasons. One, it doesn't take place in the continuity. They should have made this movie years ago and had it release. And I understand it probably ties in, but it didn't. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird watching a movie about a dead character. Spoilers if you haven't seen Endgame. It's just kind of weird.
I think that was my thing more so than the fact that I
needed a break too. Man, I needed a bigger break.
Her portrayal of Widow was fine, but I was never overly excited about it. And I think my main thing is, one, I'm just kind of burnt out on this stuff. And two, it's tough for me to go sit through a 2-hour movie and pretend like I'm emotionally invested in a character that's no longer around. Sure.
I understand they're going to tie it in somehow. But Shang-Chi looked interesting. It's a martial arts movie. mostly, which I'll get into. And, you know, people were excited for it the same way a lot of people were excited for Black Panther. It was the first, you know, Asian American, you know, superhero, mainstream one. And that came out about 73, 4 it came out. God, I don't have the first appearance of that. Like, it came out like a few years after Iron Fist, 2 years after Iron Fist. So obviously Kung Fu movies and Chinese martial arts movies were all the rage.
Right.
In the early 70s, you had Bruce Lee. They all started coming over here. And so Marvel's like, we got to make some characters. And they did that. And I enjoyed it. It got really rave reviews. It was like super rated high on Rotten Tomatoes, like 98%, which I was kind of shocked by. That's a percentage. That's not a score. But no, I enjoyed it. Here's the issue though. I want to watch a martial arts movie. Like you don't want the best fight scenes in your movie to be in the first half of the movie.
No.
That's the problem. You want them to build when you're watching a martial arts film. You want so this has the third act stumbles the same way Black Panther does, where you have something building and then you're just let down. You're just like, okay, it's fine, but it's almost like they wanted to do something smaller, and then sometime either through the writing or production, like, you know what? Let's do this fucking big end of the world thing instead, and make it a fucking CG fest. When all the rest of the movie wasn't a CG fest, so I'm just like, I am so not interested anymore in this, because when you're doing martial arts fights, for the most part, even modern day, like, it's real. People are really hitting each other and courting. To go from that to, I'm trying not to spoil it for Ian. To go from that
It's
to,
fine. I really don't care.
To go from that to a gigantic dragon battle, is, I just was like, I don't want to see this. I just don't want to see this. You take away everything from what I was watching before that. We're like, why?
I can understand that. I always want.
Why do you do stuff like this? Not everything has to be end of the fucking world in every single one of these movies. Holy shit.
Despite the fact that I felt like the quality of the Marvel television series went downhill after, you know, as they progressed in some instances, I really like the smaller superhero stories.
Yeah.
I don't need everything. I don't need every superhero movie to end in a Final Fantasy final boss fight.
Yeah.
Sometimes a small contained story is good. A medium-sized villain. Maybe the sake of a town is at like
like Iron Man did it right. Iron Man, the first one, it's like, oh, he's the evil business guy that fucked over Tony. So it's
right.
Like, it's not end of the world if you don't beat the guy, but he's a slime ball that, you know, he's dealing with arms to terrorists and stuff like that. Start small. That's why the same thing with James Bond movies. By the way, a new James Bond movie is finally coming out next month, which looks great. Not every James Bond movie is end of the world. They became end of the world stuff. Not every one was end of the world. There's a lot of smaller ones. Going back to the books, it's like, yeah, we don't want bad people to get away with shit. It's not like, oh, if we don't solve this, the world's destroyed, or a nuke fucking hits the U.S. Like, I'm tired. Maybe because I'm getting older, I'm just tired of that. Like, just give me a smaller story. Give me a smaller story.
Yeah.
That's all. 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Sorry for spoiling it. It's been out for a week and a half. It's 92% tomato meter. What's the consensus here? Where's the consensus score? Because I usually like... There's no consensus? The little thing... Oh, here it is. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings isn't entirely free of Marvel's familiar formula, wink, but this exciting origin story expands the MCU in more ways than one. Does it, though? It doesn't really... I'll say this. They retconned, obviously the 10 rings, not giving anything away. That goes back to the Iron Man 1 and 3, and Ben Kingsley's character. So they retconned that, but they set that up. If you saw Iron Man 3, obviously Ben Kingsley's character was not the Mandarin.
Right.
It was a setup. He was an actor. I liked that twist. I didn't think it was horrible. Some people hated that twist when it came out. That was already 8 years ago.
I loved that movie. I thought everything until the last 20 minutes about that movie I loved.
Because then it's just too much CG, right? It's just all the shit.
I felt like I was watching something totally different.
Exactly.
20 minutes.
That's the same thing with this movie. You're watching something totally different. And the CG is not great in the last 20 minutes of this movie. You can tell, like, it was like, oh, this is really good. This is really good. And then like the level just drops. So from my CG friend tells me, a lot of times it's because they change stuff. They don't have time to do it well. And but
I was gonna say Yoshi's gonna have something to say. He wants us, I think, to.
They wanted Yoshi to work.
I think he wants us to get good enough with CG that we can acknowledge what parts of the CG were good and what parts.
Yeah.
Of the
Oh
CG
no.
were
Oh,
bad.
you know,
Saying CG.
Ian, you'll be able to tell when you see this.
Yeah,
This isn't like, oh, this is borderline. But it's exciting in a way that it's nice to see a martial arts film that's connected to the MCU. I get that, and because I like martial arts films. There's not enough mainstream martial arts films anymore. And Michelle Yeoh's in it. I love Michelle Yeoh. Hasn't aged a bit since when I first saw her, in Crouching Tiger in the theaters in like the 90s. That and in the Bond movie she was in, Tomorrow Never Dies. So anyway, that's all I did this weekend, Ian.
You know what else I did this weekend?
WarioWare.
Played a bunch of WarioWare.
Did you like it, Ian?
Yeah, I like it. So the new WarioWare is out. WarioWare, get it together. Brief story. I don't know if Nintendo is not like... I don't know if they're trying to get people to buy digital or what, but actually finding a physical copy of it on Friday was impossible.
You went to Target?
Went to Target. They had a spot for it, but it was sold out. And this was at like 2 p.m. So either WarioWare is the hottest, biggest, newest property, or they only got a certain...
What was the last major Nintendo release on Switch? What was the last one you'd say? The last big one?
I don't know.
It's been several months, right?
Sure. But WarioWare's never a game that really grabs... I mean...
Remember, the Wii one was hard to find. That sold out. Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, they've all been pretty popular. It's just, I mean, it's not like it's one of their flagship franchises.
It's a hardcore following, though, I think.
Yes. And then I called 2 GameStops, and both GameStops that I called in San Diego only got enough copies in to cover their pre-orders.
That's weird. Artificial scarcity. No.
Well, I mean, and then they're like, well, did you pre-order it? And it's like, no, I didn't, because I should be able to walk into a fucking store on the day that it came out and pick up a copy. So I ordered it on Amazon, and I got it.
Evil Amazon. Don't you put money in Jeff Bezos' pocket, Ian. How dare you?
Got it on Sunday.
Financing his moon trips or whatever he's doing.
Played the very first level of it, very, very drunk after dinner.
God, okay.
And then yesterday I sat down and basically played all of it.
So before you chastise me, I bought it and played it, and I played, for what we're talking about, like 35% of the game, roughly.
Yeah.
The first major campaign. Okay.
So in WarioWare games, they're short. You don't...
Micro games.
It's like buying a shooter. You're not buying a WarioWare game or a shooter because you're looking for a long playing game. It's something that you constantly go back to improve your score and get a little bit further. Just like a shooter, you see pretty much everything there is to see in a couple of hours, but you're constantly replaying it over and over again. It's really not that hard of a comparison. Content wise, it's very similar.
Okay.
Shooters are short. People who buy them and credit feed through them go, this is 2 hours of gameplay, and I hate it.
Okay. That's
People who buy WarioWare and play through it until they've seen everything once and then go, it's done, aren't going to get anything out of it. You get going back to it over and over. That's what you get out of it.
I see shooters as a lot more replayable than micro games, but okay.
I don't. I mean, the whole point of, I mean, in some ways,
you can
yes.
Explore, you can play differently in them, things like that.
Well, that's an interesting thing about this WarioWare.
Oh.
So the game is relatively short. You'll beat the main story mode in about an hour and a half. The big twist to this WarioWare is
hour and a half if you're decent and use the continues. Like if you don't,
I didn't use any continues. I'm just good at WarioWare.
Woo! Okay, I had issues with the first few missions till I got used to a couple of the characters.
Really?
Because I'll get into the different characters. Some suck compared to others.
Some
are not balanced well, from what I saw.
They're not supposed to be, and I'll get into that too. So in previous WarioWare games, there was touch, there was twist, there was gold, which uses normal buttons, twist, or touch. It uses all of them. And that's how you get some variety into the games. In this one, you get a stock set of games, but you actually unlock all the WarioWare cast to play through the games. So, for instance, Wario moves around freely, and then you press a button and he charges.
He dashes, yeah.
Someone like
Mona goes on her skateboard, and then
Mona's got a scooter and she has a boomerang.
Yeah.
9 Volt has a skateboard that just goes back and forth. And you fire an arrow. 5 Volt is one of my favorite characters. 5 Volt, you actually have to move her spirit around, and you press a button and she reappears wherever her spirit goes.
I didn't get to her. Okay, that's pretty cool.
So that's a really cool one. And they all play differently, and some of the levels are better tuned for certain characters.
Yeah, so my problem was this. I didn't do the auto once I should have. I selected my own, and boy, did I issue.
Auto is just random.
No, I think they think they choose them for better because there's some characters that are next to impossible on some of these.
I didn't run into any game that was impossible with any one character.
Okay. There was one using the guy that jumps. There's one guy that just jumps.
Yeah.
And you had to jump quickly onto. It was something with a cat to wind to get to it. I had issues with that. And these games, obviously, if you never played for it, you have 3 seconds to do these games. About roughly
10 for some of them.
Some are like 3 seconds.
Oh yeah, as it gets faster.
And so you not just have to figure out
the wind-up cat one. You jump into it and then land and fall, and then you do it a second time and you just walk away and it walks into.
Okay, well the first time you do it, you can't figure it out. That's the whole point of these games. Like, yeah, it's for replayability. Because the first time you do some of these characters, I'm looking at this like, first of all, some of the puzzles, yes, are obtuse, but some even the second time, I was like, I still don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. So you have to get acclimated to what you're going to be doing, then figure out with your character how to do it. So it adds a level of difficulty I was not foreseeing, that I was not expecting, because it was a lot tougher for me to do these than versus the one on the Wii, which is like,
your reference point for this series is the Wii one, which is fairly different.
No, I get that, but okay, well that's awesome. So I'm good to reviews. I'm not biased. So damn you, Discord. So or now it's an email. So that was the one thing that it was more difficult than I thought. That was all. It was just fine. But obviously the characters are great. I love the animations. That they're obviously clever, the puzzles, but there are some characters that really, really suck. And there's some that obviously you can't do on some of the puzzles at all. Like the one guy that just shoots things here and there. There's some that
you absolutely can. They build in. They build in rings into those levels so you can shoot and move around.
Oh, okay.
You can do every puzzle with every character.
Okay, I think I got to read back. We got to do that.
Every puzzle can be done with every character.
Okay,
and that's what I ended up really liking about the game as I got further and further into it. The design that went into the game I thought was phenomenal because every character can be used in every puzzle, and I personally didn't have any problems. There was a couple of characters that are more difficult, but I didn't. And there's one game that I have to play. There's one micro game that I never figured out, and it was the orchestra hit one. I actually have no idea how to do that one.
This is what I'm going to say. I would have preferred if the team up thing happened either later or give you more stages. Not that it matters. You get so many coins, you can continue. You can beat them all by continuing. But I would prefer if they didn't throw the 3 characters at you. You get a character of three.
You start with 3 characters, then it's 4, and by the end it's 5.
I would rather they give you more time to get acclimated to a character before they swap it, because that's part of the problem is that they swap them in and out. So you got now I get used to the control scheme of this character again for this puzzle, and it just throws.
But that's the point of the game. The whole point of the game is to fuck you up in the head.
I get it. Yeah, well, that's the point. The point is the micro games, but no, I get it.
So, and at the end, when you beat everything, you can unlock the entire roster mode, which is it just randomly selects from the entire roster.
Okay.
Penny is a difficult character to use. You get Penny late in the game in some bonus levels. I think she's the new character for this one. Real quickly, I'll talk about the online mode because I loved it. They hide some pretty key modes behind the story mode. A lot of the WarioWare games have done this because getting through the story mode doesn't take really any time at all. Touching on Wario Cup real quick, really cool really cool online mode. It puts up a certain challenge every week for 1 week. It's going to, pull from this level, this set of games, etc. You're going to be playing it this way with this many characters. And then you go into the partner select, and it gives you a rating for each character. And the higher the number of the character, the harder it's going to be to use that character, but the more points you'll get from using that character.
Gotcha.
So you pick a roster of 5 characters, and they're all rated. So if the character has a rating of 100, then it's a 1 times multiplier. If they have a 92 rating, it's a 0.92 multiplier on your score. If they have a 108 rating, it's a 1.08 multiplier on your score. And you go through and you just compete for high scores. But it's a neat way to do it because you can get higher scores by completing lower levels, or you can pick really easy characters and try to get, go through more levels and get more points.
Did you do the couch co-op mode or whatever?
Yep, Vonnie and I played couch co-op. And if you thought it was difficult doing it on your own, doing it at the same time with 2 people was actually not as difficult as I thought it would be. We struggled for the first bit, but I actually
are they the same exact challenges?
They're the same. They're basically the same challenges. Sometimes there's a little bit more going on. So like there's a micro game where like there's a kid eating a sundae and there's like a can coming at it or a baseball and you've got to jump and knock it out of the way.
Okay.
If there's 2 of them, then yeah, there's more. The switch flipping micro game, there's more switches to flip. So there is more stuff to do. But it's also easy to like panic and fuck it up for the other person.
Because you can go for the same thing instead of dividing it. Yeah, it seemed like it'd be nuts.
But Vonnie and I did beat 3 of the worlds in co-op. We did continue at one of the bosses because it was like we're not going to go through it again just for the boss level.
Yeah, again, these are like 3-second games. Most of these, they're super short. Like it might be that much. I'm trying to think. Some of them are like even quicker than that. You're like, whoa, something's coming across. And the problem is that, yeah, like I said, you got to get reacclimated. The first time you see some of these games, you don't know what to do. You need to go through them like a second time for some. That's part of the fun with it.
Yep.
You know, I don't remember. I do not remember. I remember the games being that short, but I didn't remember them being as complicated. On the Wii one, maybe that's why. Maybe it was easier with the motion to do things. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, I think that's why people liked it. It was, motion based.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was. You couldn't find that game originally. I remember buying the Wii one. I think I bought it used for like $50. You just couldn't find it. Oh yeah, back in like 2000.
We always had it.
Back in like 2000. We're talking 2008.
No, I know. Luna always. That's a game that's like always on the shelves.
I don't think they did a second printing for a long time.
Maybe not.
So it was always, at least the secondary market. I remember it being more expensive for years. I remember seeing it at the swap meet. And it was like, yeah, it was expensive. I'll look that up actually real quick. So yeah, I had fun with it. I'll play more of it. Ian's proud of me. I bought a new game. I buy like 3 new games a year.
Yeah.
Wii Smooth Moves. Let me see what that goes for.
I think the last copy we had went for like $30.
$20 buy it now.
Yeah, it's not expensive.
Okay, it used to be though. It used to be hard to find. Analog Pocket. Your golden age of handhelds is being delayed a couple months until December.
Yeah, I'm bummed. Really no other way to put it. I'd love to get my hands on this thing. Second delay, third delay, second delay. Second delay.
But if they're manufacturing it, it's looks like part of the chain of production, and it's due to COVID restrictions.
They say they're manufacturing it. They say it's due to COVID restrictions. They say that fairly soon we will start seeing them go out to reviewers and whatnot.
Sure.
So at that point, I'd probably feel a little bit more confident about it because they have a track record of, releases behind them. Polymega has even made me a little weary of, even when units get into people's hands. But I still have faith in Analog to release this by the end of the year. Like I said, because they have a track record that shows that they can.
Sure.
So hopefully, knock on wood, we'll see it in December. They also say, unlike a certain Amico, where it was like, we will hope to get these in your hands by December, and it's not going to. This was December by the latest. So I'm actually hoping that they overshot their delay a little bit, and these might start to go out in November.
Yeah, they're if this was originally planned for October, they've been manufacturing this already. Yeah. It's just this is something part of one of the parts that, they said COVID restrictions, maybe there's less people working or, so yeah, this is going to get in people's hands, until COVID doesn't ship something, until Analog doesn't ship, so COVID's not shipping anything. COVID is shipping pain and suffering. That's what they're shipping. Yeah, I'm fine with Analog delaying this like that. 30th anniversary of the Konami code just happened. Yay! Yeah. Excuse me, 35th anniversary, 86. We do 5s and 0s here. Because that marks the Gradius home port, one of the earlier NES games, right there. At least third-party ones for sure. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Up, down, left, right, B.
Up, down, left, right, BA.
Yeah.
Start.
GameStop is moving to become a tech company, Ian.
So this is weird. That's what they said in one of their recent releases, was that they're going to move beyond games and evolve into a tech company. But it doesn't seem like so long ago that this was already attempted by GameStop. So I really don't know.
Deja vu.
Yeah, I really don't know how long this is, or how much this is going to help them. Reading through this article where they're talking about it, I was not aware that they held on to not Sprint Mobile, Spring Mobile, until 2018. Yeah, their subsidiary Spring Mobile. So they've already jumped into things prior to this, like they were taking phones They were buying back phones.
Yeah.
They were selling phones. They had their fingers in Spring Mobile, which was a mobile phone service division. They had a division called Simply Mac that they sold off in 2019. And around this time was also when they started bringing in. The first time they did this was when they started bringing in like all the pops, all the toys, the trading card games, the T-shirts. That was their first attempt to expand beyond games. So they're trying to do that again. I don't feel like they've really tried to do. I don't feel like they've tried to do the multifaceted approach with like phones and stuff for about 5 years. But looking at this and seeing how recently they got rid of some of this stuff, I mean, is it really a big change? Are they going to buy another mobile phone company? I feel like this to me looks like them panicking again.
Oh, this is the Chewy guy. This is all him.
Right.
GameStop has 2 long-term goals. This is from their latest, their fucking quarterly stockholder thing. GameStop has 2 long-term goals: delighting customers, and delivering value for stockholders. There you go. We are evolving from a video game retailer to a technology company that connects customers with games, entertainment, and a wide assortment of products. So basically, they're like becoming like, I guess, a general entertainment and product company.
Your General Electronics store.
So I guess maybe they want to get into, obviously we know they want to get into digital stuff, the digital space. We'll see if that happens. And they want to become an online retailer more, like that's what Chewy is. Chewy was for online pet retailer and dominated before it was before the guy sold off and became a freaking billionaire, now trying to help GameStop. So they're going to increase the size of the addressable market by growing our product catalog across consumer electronics, collectibles, toys, and other categories that represent natural extensions of our business. Oof.
I honestly feel like this is just a fancy way of saying we're staying the course, but acting like they're doing something new. You can already go on GameStop and buy a bazillion fucking things that aren't video games.
Building a superior customer experience. What the hell does that mean? Strengthening tech capabilities, including by investing in new systems, modernize e-commerce assets, and expanded experience talent base. They want to sell stuff online. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. They want to move away from retail. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Less overhead. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Not saying there's gonna be a streaming GameStop, game subscription service, but no, they want to just sell more stuff direct to consumer. That's it. I don't know if it's gonna work because GameStop pretty much has a brand and.
You know what's direct to consumer?
What is it?
UltimateNintendo.com.
It sure is
direct to consumer.
And what can you get there? Direct to you can get RBI baseball stickers, you can get books, you can get DVDs and not for resale Blu-ray, the Volume 5 and 4 and 3 Video Game Years DVDs. You can get that. I'm on Cameo, cameo.com/PatCountry. What are you smirking for?
I'm just smirking.
And I'm on Twitch Wednesday nights watching 80s and 90s commercials now. I was running out of 80s commercials. Twitch.tv/.
What do you do when you run out of 90s commercials? I mean, that's probably a few years away.
It's not actually. There's not a huge amount. I mean, I've been do 2 hours a week for a year and a half. How much commercials do you think is on YouTube?
I don't know. Are you going to jump back to the 70s? You going to do 70s commercials?
There's not a huge amount of 70s and 60s. Like there's mostly 80s and 90s. I guess 2000s. But we're stretching it out. We might just go back to the beginning. We'll just recycle back to. There's about 860 80s commercial vault playlists.
Second verse, same as the first. A
little bit louder and a little bit worse.
Yep.
And my book's in Canada again at retromtl.com. So you can get it there. And check out Alwa's Awakening. Alwa's Awakening was a digital game, came out in 2017.
Yeah, this looks kind of neat. So it was a Steam game, one of those faux retro games. But
now it's an NES cart.
Apparently,
from Retrobit.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. These developers kept it pretty well within the limits of the Nintendo because there's a NES version coming out that looks very, very good when you compare it side by side to the Steam version.
Yeah, it looks pretty close. It's like the color palette is in the general ballpark, and the details are closer than I thought. So you can get the NES cartridge, which has like a slip case, and this is our pals at Retrobit. We like them. And then they have the digital version, which is interesting. I've never seen this happen before. You get the NES ROM, but it's in a box, and the USB thumb drive it's on is the character of the game, pixel character as the thumb drive. I'm like, that's pretty unique.
Yeah, I don't think this is like the first time it's ever happened, but the packaging on this is really nice. It's nice to see, and I think it's a good way for people to get a little something if they, don't want to own the cartridge, don't have a Nintendo.
It's $20, $20 for the digital, because it's digital, but you're getting physical media in a thumb drive, at least in a box. And then it's $60 for all the accoutrements and for the NES cart version. So that's at Retrobit. They're doing pre-orders for a month on that right now.
Yeah, check it out. It looks neat.
You know what you need a thumb drive of is for all these servers that are going down for Little Big Planet. You need to throw them all on that thumb drive and...
Yeah, that's not how it works. Anyways, the Little Big Planet servers are shutting down. This is kind of a personally sad thing for me. I loved the Little Big Planet games, played all three of them.
I'm sad for you.
And I figured this was going to be coming at some point, but the online servers are shutting down, which means with it hours. And I would say I would wager millions of hours of combined work on these levels is going bye-bye.
10 million different levels, it said.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
10
between
million.
The three. There is a version of Part 3 on the PS4, and it doesn't seem like those servers are going down. I don't know if they're trying to focus more on Dream, which is kind of their Little Big Planet sequel in terms of like having something that you can create games with. Sackboy is obviously still around. There was Sackboy's Big Adventure that came out with the launch of the PlayStation 5. I got a PS4 version as well. But even when I was playing Little Big Planet years ago, I knew there was going to be that day where this happened and it was going to be sad. And it is kind of a bummer. I haven't played in a long time, but it does kind of suck to think about all of that just vanishing. And I don't know if there's any way to preserve that. I don't know if there is. It's just that is gone. If the people who originally made the levels still have their systems, they could probably play it in an offline testing mode, but that's about it. No central resource for all of this that I'm aware of.
You hope that it's preserved at least on their side, where they just they download them and just have them somewhere just in case one day they could get it back up.
You would hope so.
You hope Sony would do something like that.
But I don't know. But that goes to this next point, which is just, it's interesting. Hideki Kamiya commented on the current retro game craze. So basically someone asked him, as a collector, what do you make of the recent explosion in retro game prices? Referring to like the auctions and stuff like that. Again, I do think it's important to distinctly define between the sealed market and the retro game market, because I have not seen any evidence yet of this sealed stuff really affecting loose cartridges. But Kamiya says, as a collector himself, he understands the allure of wanting to have the game in the sealed package. People want the value of that package and not necessarily of the game itself. But as a fan, it's a problem if somebody wants to play the game and they can't get it because it's being traded in these ridiculous marketplaces. The responsibility for keeping those games available belongs to the company that owns the IP. This I all agree with. If the people want to play a classic game and they can't because it's not available on new platforms and can't be found in its original form either, that's like a threat. It's holding game culture back. The people who own the rights to these games should be actively making moves to preserve game culture and making games available to everyone who wants to play them. And I agree. It's one of the things that I get pissed off at Nintendo about. They are very weird about re-releasing their stuff, and if there's no other way to go after to play it, then yes, people are going to pirate your games. You have people who want this stuff, make it available to them, make your money, but also keep it at the forefront of people's minds.
Yeah, the issue is it's not like it's free for these companies to put these old games out for a new audience. It costs money and resources. A lot of these companies are not big that have the rights to these games. So it's an issue in terms of that. It's not like, yeah, give us a way to buy these. And it's like, well, that's not going to be possible for a lot of these games. For the popular games, maybe, but not for a lot of the stuff in the mid games or a lot of the stuff that isn't well liked or thought about. And it goes back to, I was talking about is preservation the same as availability? In my eyes, it's not. It's weird that for video games, we treat this differently than other media, because no one ever says every old movie should be available for us to watch anytime. No one ever says that. For some reason, with video games, we have a different culture when it comes to this. We want it available because we played it as a kid. I want to play it again now. I want it, blah, blah, blah. It's not the same with movies, which is strange. Movies are usually have a cycle where they come out, they're gone, they come back later for a new generation, or they're available. Like
I don't know.
Not nearly the same.
People do make that complaint though. People all the time talk about how Netflix has a poor selection and that it should have more availability. I mean, people talk about that all the time.
But Netflix isn't the only place to get movies. There's DVDs, there's Blu-rays.
No, but there is definitely that conversation happening all over the place about how people wish with digital streaming movies were more available.
Yeah, but it costs money to put the movies on there. They got to pay for the rights. So
then don't get angry when we pirate.
Well, here. So now you're just saying all intellectual property should be free. That's what you're basically saying at the point.
Didn't say it should be free. I said it should be available.
Every single intellectual property, like every song should be available.
If they don't want to, that's fine. But don't fucking come after us for trying to access it.
Well, no one's coming after you,
right?
You know, like you can play.
Yes, I would like the free exchange of information.
Okay. Regardless of the cost, potential cost. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I don't agree entirely with that, but okay. But yeah, the responsibility to keep games available, should be the IP holders. But I mean, what do you do? Hold a gun to their head and say, put out this game? These companies can go bankrupt trying to put out these games, potentially to port them over for a new audience, or you know what I mean? It's just not. It's not. This isn't Candyland, we're in, unfortunately. It's capitalism. Speaking of capitalism, Battle of the Behemoths, Apple versus Epic, with the big lawsuit over Fortnite and percentages and buying the freaking Epic bucks versus on the Apple store versus Epic providing it. This is a big lawsuit. It's going on for over a year, and there's a lot at stake here. But finally, the ruling came out. There was like 10 different basically judgments. Apple won all of them. I saw something like, Fortnite, Epic killed Apple. I was like, no. Apple won a lot of this stuff. The main thing that
people
Apple
really wanted to pick a team and root for a team. It's so weird. You're still rooting for a corporation. I understand that good things come out of this, and there are very good things that can come out of it. But it's the whole. Some people got way too into this.
Well, yeah, I don't like the whole. The corporations aren't your friend. But yes, in a case like this, one corporation is fighting for something that is more right versus the other, and that's fine. You can be on that side, but no, what Apple won. The big thing that Apple won with this lawsuit is that Epic was trying to say they have a monopoly owning the phone and then owning the store that phone's available on. They own the platform, the device, and the store. That's what they're trying to say. They were trying to break this wide open, and Apple won that, and that's huge for them because they can continue business as is. Otherwise, you could potentially had someone say, "Oh, I should be allowed to put my store on your phone, your Apple phone," and be like, "What?" So they won that. It's not a monopoly. That's the big win. The one ruling though that they lost is still big, and it is going to cost Apple a lot of money in the long run. And there's already changes in the works that have happened because of this in the past couple of weeks. So third parties are allowed to do transactions through apps now. So if I have an app and saying, "Hey, Ian, you want to buy a subscription to this?" I don't have to go through the iStore and have Apple take a 30% cut. You can just go through my store, go through my web browser, web link connected through the app in order to buy it. Therefore, the dev keeps all the profit. That's a huge win for all indie all devs, indie and corporate, and that's a big hit to Apple. So how did Apple respond to this? They've already done it. They're lowering their cut from 30% to 15%. They've already done it if you make under $1 million of revenue in a year. Everyone wins. That's great. So that's where you're on Epic side. Everyone wins. I always said 30% was arbitrary and it's too much, and Apple pretty much defined that 30% going back 20 fucking years with music and movies on the freaking old freaking iPods and stuff. Like that's where they define that, and that's what's carried through. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal for everyone out there. That keeps money in people's pockets. That also means that for the consumer, they win too, because now you can offer less and keep more of the profit. The same thing we talked about with Epic doing their 12% cut. You can have games available for less money, but the dev keeps more of the profit. So now everyone wins except for Apple. That's what forced them to lower the percentage, because they don't want to be 0%. They want to be, okay, here, stay here. We're going to take less. It's fantastic. Android already did this back earlier this year. They already went down to 15%.
Who?
The Android.
Android.
Google Play.
I thought you said Android. I'm like, who is Android?
Google Play Store, I should say, on Android phones. They've already at 15%. So this is now Epic has really the last 2 years. People were anti-Epic. It's like, why? It's competition. This is what they've done. They've reduced single-handedly the percentages these stores are taking from developers now on Apple. It bled into Google Play, and Steam is still at 30%. I don't know they're going to be there forever. They're going to have to come down. But now Microsoft Store for PC games is lowered to 12% as well. So basically, the only things hanging on is Steam at 30%, and the consoles are at 30% still. I don't think it's going to stay there forever, though. I think there eventually will come down from that. So that's cool, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can do that extra money, Epic. I'm just throwing this out there. Now you could maybe throw a few bucks at getting fucking Unreal Tournament back off the ground. Just a few bucks. That's all. Just a few. A mere bag of shells, maybe, to finish up the fucking alpha you abandoned like 3.5 years ago. That's all. For you know. That's it.
They do not care.
Or give the rights to your pal pad, and I'll make it happen. There you go.